From the scorched deserts of New Mexico in 1945 to the mysterious cemetery in Texas, from the Italian countryside to the plains of Nebraska, these strange UFO crashes have left behind a trail of unanswered questions. Unexpected witnesses, objects not of this world, and secrets buried by governments all point to one truth. We still know far too little about UFOs and extraterrestrial life. Join us as we uncover the forgotten UFO crashes that continue to challenge the very limits of human understanding in today's video. But first, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can be part of our notification squad. Number 1. The 1933 Melini UFO incident, Italy. Did a UFO really crash in Italy in 1933? And did the Vatican help cover it up? That is the sensational claim put forth by Italian UFO researcher Roberto Pinotti and former U.S. Air Force officer David Grush. Pinotti asserts that he has uncovered evidence of a UFO crash in Melini in 1933, with none other than Mussolini himself personally ordering the seizure and concealment of the wreckage for more than a decade. His evidence includes what are believed to be classified government documents originating from an anonymous source. Among them, 2 telegrams dated June 1933, allegedly approved by Mussolini, referencing the landing of an unknown flying object on national territory. While these documents appear convincing, no physical evidence of the crash has ever been found, and the ultimate fate of the UFO remains a mystery. Even so, some believe the craft ultimately ended up in American hands. David Grush, a former intelligence officer, claims his high-level military contacts have informed him that the United States Office of Strategic Services confiscated the UFO remains when American forces entered Rome during World War II. Grush insists that the crashed object was a bell-shaped metallic craft roughly 10 meters in diameter, which was recovered in the town of Magenta near Milan. Mussolini's government reportedly held on to the object until 1944, with all related documentation locked away in the Vatican archives. Pinotti's research also points to the existence of a secretive government agency called Gabinetto RS-33, said to have been established by Mussolini to oversee the retrieval and study of down saucers and other UFO events, under the leadership of Nobel Prize-winning inventor Guglielmo Marconi. One document from 1936 was analyzed by a forensic expert who confirmed that both the paper and ink were consistent with that era. However, skeptics argue that vintage materials could have been used to forge the documents. Additionally, the papers lack official protocol numbers or authentication stamps, making their provenance difficult to verify. Despite the doubts, more intriguing details continue to emerge. Marco Negri, a resident of northern Italy, recently shared a story passed down from his great-grandfather, Pietro Negri, who served as mayor of a town near the crash site from the 1920s through the 1950s. According to Pietro, a strange, wingless metallic aircraft crashed in Magenta during the 1930s, and the fascist secret police immediately covered up the event. The alleged involvement of the Vatican only adds to the mystery. If the Vatican truly possesses records of the 1933 UFO encounter, it would be a discovery of enormous historical significance. However, given the absence of concrete evidence and the Vatican's well-known secrecy, it seems unlikely that such records, if they exist, will be made public anytime soon. Number 2. The Cape Girardeau UFO, 1941. In the small town of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, a long-held secret has recently come to light, shedding new perspective on an alleged extraterrestrial encounter that took place one fateful night in the spring of 1941. This incident occurred a full 6 years before the infamous Roswell crash and has since captivated researchers and UFO enthusiasts alike. The story began to attract attention when Michael Huntington, a travel writer and UFO investigator, happened upon Charlotte Mann, the granddaughter of Reverend William Huffman. Mann recounted the extraordinary tale her grandfather had shared with her before he passed away, revealing a series of events that unfolded in a remote field on the outskirts of Cape Girardeau. According to Mann, late one night, Reverend Huffman was awakened by an urgent call from the local sheriff, requesting his presence at the scene to deliver last rites to the victims of a horrific accident. Upon arrival, Huffman was confronted with a scene beyond explanation: a seamless disc-shaped craft torn open by a gaping hole and engulfed in flames. Police officers and firefighters had already pulled 3 bodies from the wreckage, But what left Huffman in shock was that the victims were not human. The entities were described as small, with large, protruding eyes, matching the now iconic image of extraterrestrial beings. Two of the creatures had already perished, while the third clung to life. In a moment of compassion, Huffman offered a blessing to the dying entity before it took its final breath. Some sources claim that the military swiftly cordoned off the area, confiscated all debris, and imposed strict silence on witnesses. Others argue that no such event ever took place, pointing out the complete absence of newspaper reports or official records, something highly unusual for a town like Cape Girardeau in the 1940s. The story continues to circulate about a photograph taken at the crash site, depicting a group of men, including Huffman, standing solemnly around the alien bodies. Yet this photo has long since vanished, or perhaps it never existed at all. Number 3. The Dundy County UFO, Nebraska, 1884. In June of 1884, a strange event is said to have taken place on the vast grasslands of Dundy County, leaving behind a mystery that continues to fascinate researchers and UFO enthusiasts to this day. According to newspaper accounts from that era, on June 6th, a group of cowboys witnessed a massive, fiery object hurtling straight down from the sky and crashing behind an earthen embankment near the small settlement of Mac. Ranch owner John Ellis and his hands discovered the ground littered with fragments resembling pieces of machinery, including giant wheels, at a site where the heat radiating from the wreckage was so intense that one could suffer burns by venturing too close. The following morning, local government inspector Rollins and his team returned to the site and discovered the remains of a cylindrical object, approximately 50 to 60 feet long and 10 to 12 feet in diameter. Ellis was even planning to lay claim to the crash site, but only a few days later, the newspaper reported that the mysterious craft had completely vanished after a heavy rainstorm, leaving behind only small, jelly-like pools and a lingering, unpleasant odor in the air. Although editor James Calhoun later admitted to fabricating the story, some researchers maintain that there may be more to the Dundy County case than meets the eye. Calhoun was known for his humorous tall tales, but the level of detail in the initial reports has led many to speculate that he may have simply embellished a real event, rather than inventing it out of whole cloth. For years afterward, investigators attempted to find hard evidence to back up the tale from 1884. Some have pointed out that in 2013, near the location believed to be the crash site, strange green stones were discovered. These translucent rocks, marbled with white, were described as looking like lime jello with cottage cheese, a description that matches the mysterious jelly pools mentioned in reports from over a century earlier. Additionally, the Dundy County incident took place before the wave of mystery airship sightings that swept across America in the late 1890s, fueling speculation that it could represent one of the earliest encounters with unidentified aerial phenomena. Ultimately, the truth behind the Dundy County event remains elusive. Perhaps Calhoun simply spun a yarn too compelling to be forgotten, but the enduring interest in the case suggests that for many, the idea of a celestial visitor once landing on the Nebraska prairie still holds a strange and irresistible allure. Number 4. The UFO crash at the Trinity nuclear test site, 1945. In December 2022, President Joe Biden approved a significant addition to the U.S. military budget, a provision mandating a systematic investigation into UFO incidents recorded by the American Armed Forces. This new initiative requires a comprehensive review of past UFO encounters, with one notable amendment, expanding the scope of inquiry not just to events after 1947, but all the way back to 1945. This adjustment was prompted by a largely forgotten incident that occurred near the Trinity site in New Mexico, the very place where the world's first atomic bomb was tested in July 1945. The crash site was first discovered on August 16, 1945, by two young boys, 9-year-old Jose Padilla and 7-year-old R. Baca. At the time, the boys were riding their horses across the vast expanse of the Padilla Ranch near San Antonio, New Mexico, searching for a stray cow, when the ground suddenly shook from a tremendous explosion. Rushing toward the source of the noise, the boys stumbled upon an extraordinary scene. A colossal metallic object lying at the end of a deep gouge torn into the earth. A large gash marred the side of the craft, and through it, the boys could see small figures darting rapidly inside. It wasn't until 2003, nearly 6 decades later after both had gone on to successful careers, that Jose and Rem finally shared their remarkable story with Z Valet, a former federal UFO investigator. In their interview, they described the beings inside the craft as standing about 4 feet tall, with thin limbs and heads resembling those of praying mantises. Seeing such creatures for the first time, the boys were understandably terrified. They rushed home to tell their father, who dismissed it as just another routine military test. The military soon arrived, quickly secured the site, and declared the object to be nothing more than a downed weather balloon. The craft was hauled away on a flatbed truck, but not before the boys managed to sneak back and retrieve a metal panel from the wreckage. In 2015, analysis of the panel revealed it to be composed only of common aluminum alloys used in contemporary aviation. While Jose and Rem's account remains the only direct testimony of living entities at the crash site, they weren't the only witnesses to the event. Researcher Jacques Vallée later interviewed relatives of Lieutenant Colonel William Brody, who revealed that Brody had been sent to investigate the incident while piloting a bomber to Alamogordo Air Base. At the time, Brody had been tasked with inspecting a communications tower that had suddenly gone offline, only to discover it had been struck by an egg-shaped metallic object. He also confirmed the presence of the 2 boys, Padilla and Baca, on horseback at the scene. To this day, the official position of the U.S. military remains unchanged. They insist the object was simply a weather balloon used for testing purposes. However, the inclusion of this incident in the recent military spending bill has reignited public interest and raised new questions about the true nature of what transpired on that fateful day in 1945. Number 5. Aurora, Texas. In the historic cemetery of Aurora, Texas, there once stood a peculiar gravestone beneath a tree. Etched into its surface was the image of a spacecraft, a marker placed by UFO enthusiasts expressing their belief in an extraordinary theory, that beneath this very tree lay the resting place of an extraterrestrial pilot. Today, the headstone has vanished, but the question lingers. Could an alien astronaut truly be buried beneath the soil of Aurora? According to the April 17, 1897 edition of the Dallas Morning News, the details of the incident are as simple as they are fantastic, almost like something out of a fairy tale. Around 6 a.m., the residents of Aurora were jolted awake by the sight of an airship, a concept that, at the close of the 19th century, was little more than science fiction, crashing into the windmill on Judge Proctor's property. The craft was destroyed in the resulting explosion, which leveled the judge's flower garden and claimed the life of the pilot in the tragic blast. The newspaper reported that an Army Signal Service officer named Weems examined the pilot's remains and determined that the pilot was not of this world. The body, badly mangled and unrecognizable, was clearly not human. In addition, strange documents inscribed with indecipherable symbols were reportedly found with the pilot. Various accounts state that the townspeople buried this otherworldly visitor in the Aurora Cemetery, marking the grave with a stone carved with the figure of a spacecraft. The story goes further. Tons of aluminum and silver debris from the ruined ship were said to have been dumped into a nearby well, which was later sealed up. Over the decades, the mystery of Aurora only deepened with reports of odd discoveries near the site, including pieces of unknown metal and unusually high rates of illness, believed to be caused by contaminated well water. Yet, skepticism has shrouded the tale of the Aurora spaceship from the very beginning. Researchers and historians have pointed out numerous inconsistencies and suggested possible motives for a hoax. In the 1890s, Aurora was a struggling town, beset by a string of misfortunes: a devastating cotton boll weevil infestation, a fierce fire, and an outbreak of spotted fever. Some believe the UFO story was a last-ditch effort by the townspeople to attract visitors and revive their economy. This interpretation resurfaced in a 1980 interview with Time magazine, when 86-year-old Etta Pegues recalled her childhood memories of Aurora, while the legend of Aurora's alien visitor continues to live on, nourished by historical anecdotes and modern UFO culture. The truth behind the story remains cloaked in mystery. Which of these UFO crash stories do you think is the most plausible? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss out on our next journey into the world's greatest mysteries.